So Nick, so here we go. So I'll run through it quickly who you are, very, very quickly, because there'll be people that know exactly who you are. So you're a freelance journalist based in the US whose work has been vital in the research of the BBC documentary Andrew Tate, the Man Who Groomed the World, with Matt Shear, produced by Jamie Tassin. And then you've got, your work was featured in the Impact/Nightline film, which was Andrew Tate Into the Manosphere with Terry Moran from ABC. You are known as Crab Crawler online, that's your name. And yeah, you were involved basically in Team Matrix, and now you've been deplatformed. So I just thought, well, maybe a way to get around that is to sort of talk to you, and then we can upload that on X, and then get around the Matrix, as it were.
Well, like, for one thing, I love that the Team Matrix people have continued to keep this story alive for so freaking long without me. But for two, I had no it really happened as an unintentional just circumstance of just me talking about it. I had no part in the founding or makeup of Team Matrix just existing. These people just followed my account and they all found each other, and somehow it just worked like peanut butter and jelly.
And they were all just pissed off, basically. Pissed off and trying to fight misinformation from
and they all basically mutually realized the same thing, that the Tate brothers were really trying to push their own fake victim agenda of trying to say they were oppressed by the Romanian government after the fact. I mean, they for years said, "Oh, the Romanian government is easily bribable, and we got everyone in our pockets." But then all of a sudden,
then the FBI came.
FBI. Well, and I guess in their case, whatever the international, I could just say Interpol, I guess, is the international body in the European Union. Anyway, feds came in and basically clamped down on the Tate brothers after the whole story.
Yeah. So that was in April 2021?
2022.
I think 2022, God. I remember,
the years blend together, right?
Yeah. The years have blended together, and there was also COVID and all of that stuff. But I remember you were really, really active. And basically what happened was you got in a bit of an argument between yourself and a producer for Tucker Carlson. Is that right?
Yeah, what happened there is...
I mean, it's not... It's okay. Like, we know it's not your finest hour, but it was like a bit of a spurg out.
I have to address it. Basically, how it began is I was just, like, I thought this Tucker Carlson producer, Greg, was responsible for really propping up the narrative on the Tucker Carlson show whenever that was airing on Fox. I mean, that's... Yeah.
You're still Fox, then?
I mean, one of the things Greg has always wanted me to clear up is that he had no involvement whatsoever in the interest that Tucker Carlson displayed for the Tates, and so I will bring that forward. Yeah, like that's one of the things, like, in our conversations we've had since everything went down, he's made abundantly clear. But basically, what happened is the Tate brothers fans or whatever, they got me banned from old posts on March 10th, 2023, and like, I think one of them was a joke about the Muslim religion, and I was talking about a kids' TV show, and like they flagged that as religiously offensive. Crap like that.
Right.
And then I got banned, and then I was in a bad mental state already at the time because my cousin had died under unfortunate circumstances, and then I was talking about the Tate story, and then everything just compounded upon each other in just the most unfortunate way. And then I was drinking IPAs, something called the Vibelicious. I remember the brand name because I was like, oh, this is new. I thought I'd try it out. And yeah, I slammed back Vibelicious. I slammed back a few drinks, and I got banned and stressed out. And so I started freaking out. And then Greg called me a ban-evading psychopath. And then in my worsened mental state at the time, I just played into it and just basically did the thing animals do in nature. They show their feathers just to tell everyone to fuck off. I basically
Yeah,
just
I mean,
said,
no angel either online. They've got this like horrible, horrible digital footprint as well. So don't you worry about that. But the fact is, you made up with Greg. You kind of broke bread with Greg. You said sorry.
mm-hmm. But like seriously called the FBI on me because he thought I was enough of a menace that it would be worth their time. But then the FBI came and said, "We like the Tate stuff you're working on. We don't know about the rest of this or whatever." And so they just kind of let that be. But like from my impression from what the FBI in my interview with them, there is nothing wrong whatsoever with what I've been doing online. So any false implications from the Tate camp that I'm some sort of bloody criminal are absolutely false and unfounded. And I withstood the scrutiny.
Well,
The,
so in the meantime, and when was this that you got suspended? That your account was it both Crabcrawler and Nick Mon 116?
yeah,
Is that right?
11/12. Yeah, it's a reference to my like birthday. But like really, how it unfolded is Tate fans mass reported me. Then they falsely reinstated me once and said, "Oopsie, that's a mistake." So like, I have to question the scruples of how the X team under the former trusted safety director Ella Irwin really worked. But then they brought me back under the blanket magical re-fucking instatement program. So technically, all past sins in the eyes of the big tech overlords were forgiven. But then Greg randomly brought up the incident between me and him in the wee hours of the morning on, mid-April after I'd been reinstated. And I was like, I'm going to do everything kosher and by the book. But then Greg is like, no. And he basically complained to Ella Irwin, and she was like, oh, we investigated Nick Monroe, but we know nothing about this. So tell me what's going on, and we're going to super ban him. And so it was. Even right then, in that public conversation Greg and Ella Irwin were having, I was like, I screwed up massively, and I was in a bad mental place. I did not run away from any of my actions whatsoever. They were bad, and I deserved to be punished for it. Yet here we are over a year later, and I have not seen even an inkling that I'd be reinstated. Even though, according to Elon Musk, under his current wave of thinking or whatsoever, even so-called violent threats only get like 6 months. There's this guy named Lucas Gage who has really gotten himself into a pickle there. But yeah, Elon Musk's current policy is 6 months, and we are currently on month 15 and a half for Crabcrawler being banned. 15 and a half months. And when it comes to that, yeah, I think I've been punished enough. Greg thinks I've been punished enough. He and I have reconciled over the phone, and he wants me reinstated, but he has no clue how under the system of ambiguity that Twitter/X currently is ever since Ella Irwin resigned.
So this is the question mark that I have, because Tate was deplatformed around 2022, I think, after a Hope Not Hate campaign.
A bunch.
Yeah, so they went for everything, everything that wasn't nailed down. But then Musk reinstated him in 2023, and apparently has now put him on like a whitelist where like he's allowed to say racial slurs every day and just basically speak like he's on 4chan. And apparently he's on this list with, I think, libs of TikTok and people like that.
That's the weirdest thing. I've seen the post you're talking about, and people say it's fabricated, yet at the same time, that's a very specific thing to fabricate given the list of prominent, like maybe hypothetically, someone who was really tuned into all of Elon Musk's affiliations with all the people he talks to online, maybe they could put such a fabricated whitelist together. But yeah, I've talked to people in the mainstream media who want that verified, and it's sort of fallen into a gray area about the validity of the whitelist. But at the same time, Elon Musk has certainly displayed interest in having the Tate brothers on the platform, even though Andrew has at least threatened at least one guy's family, and the brothers are currently on a very prolonged trial situation and litigation surrounding their actions of human trafficking in Romania. So there's a lot
Well,
to
that's the
unpack
other
there.
thing too. I was going to say, another problem that arises with that is the fact that Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan are still suspects. They haven't, I think, have they been charged, but they haven't seen a trial yet. So at the moment, they are in a very public trial set to date. It's not happened yet, and you've got all these documentaries with victims that have come out and made these allegations, and there's multiple victims over like a decade that are all saying similar stuff that have no connections with each other, all that kind of stuff. And we also know from his behavior online and from the people around him. So there's that guy Suleiman Ahmed, who's one of his main PR kind of spin merchants. And he traveled to Florida to allegedly start interviewing family members or former partners of one of these victims. And you think, would that have happened if there wasn't this incentive through Tate being online, but also the bucks from being on premium and stuff like that? Like, what does that mean legally in terms of Andrew Tate still being able to harm victims that may actually be that may be proven to be victims in a court of law at some point, probably next year?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a retaliatory litigation because the Tate brothers wanted to punish the victim in Florida who spoke out against them. So they threw together whatever accusations they could and basically tried to find something that stuck. And yeah, when the Sully and his people visited the victim's family in Florida, that was one of the things that freaked me the heck out. Like, if they had the wherewithal to go and doorstep one of the victims in the Tate case, I was freaked out on my own behalf, and that's what caused me to lash out at Greg. And I completely apologize for that. But there's
Yeah.
reason for my paranoia, even though it was misplaced. And that's on one hand. But on the other hand, the litigation has really not worked out in the Tate's favor, seeing how many layers have been stripped away from their initial claims. They tried making defamation calls against the entire family of the victim, and the parents have been has long since been excluded, and only parts of their claims against the victim are allowed to go forward to a formal trial. And the Tates and then their allies are trying to call this a victory, but it's really just a glorified waste of time and spending money. And
I'll
then
tell you
on
what
the
I did find. Sorry.
no, well, on the other hand, it also came out recently that it was discovered that a personality named Ryan Dawson was on the Tate payroll, which I find just fascinating because it essentially confirms that the Tates had people, you know, salaries people or whatever you want to call it, going to the victim's house or the victim's town or whatever and talking to their ex-boyfriends in the first place, and that's crazy. That's
Well, and
like
then you had Candace Owens making a video off the back of that as well. Candace Owens made a whole video trying to tear apart one of these victims, which is quite crazy as well. But I don't know if you noticed this. When the US victim was initially picked up and rescued, essentially by the FBI, the Tates were falling over themselves to say that it was her boyfriend that apparently called the police. And yet, when you read those case files from the defamation suit, it looks like that they're actually accusing a member of her family of being the one to call the FBI, which I find, isn't that funny that that's just there in black and white, that, they said one thing and then how can you sue, they sued the wrong guy, maybe, I don't know, but that just is fishy to me.
it's all about the test of time. Like
Yeah,
if
we'll
there was,
see,
it's been like God, this is It's been a few years now since this thing has all kicked off, and we're
Yes.
still in this situation where the Tate brothers are going to trial. If it was a bunch of phony baloney, we would have gotten some sort of conclusion to that storyline by now. But no,
We would.
we are. They are still kicking the legal football,
Well, there's also
punting.
this big question mark. I'm sure he's happy that all these riots in the UK have like taken people's mind off. But last week there was a lot of talk about this Vivian girl who was his main blonde, the blonde woman that's featured in all these videos, but he's smacking her about and all that stuff. Hit of a cobra baby, and there was all this talk online about, well, when was she born? Because it looks like that if you add up the dates that Tate has said over the years, how much she apparently is 26 this year. So he says that this film where he was beating her up was filmed in 2012, and people did the math and went, wait, so she's 14, and he's now threatening to sue someone, I think, for putting that together. And it was a Milk Bar TV video that kind of went viral. And yeah, there's just, again, it just boils down to the question, like, why can't you just show us proof? He's like, I'll sue you all. And it's like, well, just show us proof, mate. Like it would take a long time. It would be very expensive and pointless to sue all of us if you just have her passport or ID there next to you. But, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of various call out threads against the Tates that have been popping off.
Yeah, there was
The
one murdered by crayons yesterday.
mm-hmm.
28 million.
And then there's that Drew guy who I think that's what you're referring to with the lawsuit. It was a while ago, and he propped up the video from Milk Bar, and the Tates have threatened to sue, but Drew is basically taunting them because they haven't sent any sort of letter. So,
Yep.
like, yeah, by now, knock on wood, but I thought I'd be sued by now, but I haven't been sued. I'm still here and I'm still kicking. I'm just in this pigeonhole of a situation with Twitter because I have no idea who's in charge, and I'm relying on people like A- ALX on X to call for my reinstatement, but that hasn't come yet. People like Milo, Nick Fuentes, Tommy Robinson, for everything going on in his life right now.
Yeah.
They've been
Like the old
reinstated.
days, isn't it? It's like when you and I used to chat in the old days where like all our mates were getting banned from the country and whatnot. But yeah,
But X,
I think the
X
stuff
has
that we've
thought,
seen on X. Sorry.
yeah, X has just thought to reinstate them, and I'm just like, where's my restitution? Where's my reparations? I've had none of them.
Well, this is the question mark. Is don't you find it's a bit weird that the guy who you were investigating for human trafficking is allowed back on X or Twitter, and the guy that was researching him and pointing out some of his links to some of these accounts that are big friends with Elon on Twitter, that are in this right wing sphere or whatever. Like, don't you just think that's funny? I mean, how does that make you feel knowing that basically the big evil villain that you've been pointing to, saying he's a villain, he's allowed to go and apparently make quite a lot of money as well from this platform? Apparently he's making bank. Meanwhile, you're just like in limbo. You're on Telegram, and this was what, again, just this idea that I had. Okay, well, if you can't be on X, then we'll do an interview, we'll put it on X, and then maybe some other people from Team Matrix will follow suit, and then maybe that could be just a way to get around this as well, because we desperately, as the case goes on, we're going to need your voice.
If people were to review my situation from X's end, they would have a hard time trying to justify my continued ban, but we're still in that situation anyway. I think I'm trying to think about the best from X's staffers. They probably really look at my file and say that's too bloody much to even bother with. But like, being banned means I am not publicly accountable for any of my crappy behaviors in the past. It's a form of running away if you don't give me the community that I built up and having to address anything to. You've essentially give me an excuse to just go into life scot free. But yeah, the harder way to really do things would be to have me back and having to go through that roughness of readjusting to the public life. They gave me a way out, and I don't want that way out. I want my original life back. It's been over Nick Monroe, that account was banned in May 2019, and it was made in December 2015. So that means there was 3.5 years where that account was active and successful.
Mm.
I flourished and I made a bunch of awesome stories exposing people for faking cancer, not Boogie. And yeah, I even got on the Fox 5 DC or whatever, some sort of local outlet, for just making a kick ass thread about Jussie Smollett. I was really taking off and they clipped my wings. And I see no reason why I shouldn't be allowed back to
Well,
really.
especially now that you have a right to make this your job as well. Is that why is Andrew Tate a man that's being investigated for raping at least 11 women or something? You know, come on. Like, why is this guy allowed to make like say 25K off like a viral post, and the guy that's investigated that's whose research is being used by all these big names, you know, BBC, ABC. It's just beggars belief to me. You know, I don't know. I don't know if I can make heads or tails of it. I'm just looking at Elon with a big kind of like question mark over my head of like, is there a reason, or is this personal, or
In
you
my
know, like,
conversations with the feds, they said we can't try and get you reinstated. We're not allowed to interfere in private commerce, is their official line. On the one hand, and I was transparent with the people in the BBC and ABC about my particular circumstances, and they tried to go to bat for me in at least one situation. And apparently, yeah, their official communication from X said I was banned for violent speech over things I said in a drunken mistake one evening off platform.
but then Andrew Tate can say the N word like every day, 10 times a day.
And get whitelisted for it.
And get whitelisted. I mean, and if you think about it, Tucker Carlson, when he did the Fox's first show on, which was hosted on X, who was his first interview? Andrew Tate. Who was first to comment? Elon Musk. I'm just starting to. It's just not adding up. It's just not adding up to me. It just seems to me, and I don't know if you can comment on this or what, but it seems to me like a bit of a boys' club, and that Elon is just kind of haplessly, you know, just kind of like pulling the levers to make his friends like him. That's kind of how it appears to me, but you know, that might be my biased opinion.
There are people
But
afraid to talk about the Tate brothers in the right wing sphere simply because it's too much of an inconvenience. They don't want to have the same shit that I went through, having all the Tate's fans coming after them because they saw what happened to me. I, I can confirm that's the truth in at least a bunch of cases. It's too inconvenient. To do what I did is too inconvenient, and to try and, you know, publicly lobby for my reinstatement is somehow too much of a hassle. And I
because
think
it
I've
makes
had
them look like Epstein. It makes them look like they're all part of Epstein's island, just with a different guy. Don't you think? I mean,
yeah, and then at least
that's what
one
it is to
case,
me.
one of the people I called out was Mike Cernovich for having such a very deep connection to the Tate brothers, and the Tate brothers tried shilling his gorilla pills or whatever, some vitamins, and like later on, I'd come to find out from a mutual acquaintance that Cernovich privately accused me of being responsible for death threats against him. And I disavow, I never made any sort of death threats against him, and I disavow anyone who did. And I don't think I encouraged that sort of behavior whatsoever. And so that came out of left field. But it showed to me that there was whispers, you know, in these Tate lineage or
Yeah, there are definitely
inside.
whispers. I mean,
Yep.
I can feel it. I mean, it's one of those things because the right wing is no more like as we knew it. Like what we knew as the kind of alternative media platforms of 2017 to 2019. Like maybe I would just say like the tides have changed, and there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of people that just fell off that just were really happy to hang out with someone like Kate and like really enjoying it and just sort of turning a blind eye to the some of the stuff. I mean, look at Candice, what she said. You know, oh, he seems nice. I mean, my assistant did warn me that she thought he was a pimp, but like, what was that to me? Doesn't matter. You know, like that was just this kind of attitude of these people. But then they're going and talking about being a Christian and caring about people and being, you know, like that's where I think it falls off. I think that just by knowing and saying what Tate is or what he offers those around him or what people have to turn a blind eye to, I think you expose all of them. And I think that's why there's whispers. I think we're going to see a rumble in the jungle around the time of the trial, personally.
Yeah, just to get that out of the way, there's been a huge delay in finding out the facts of the situation. But on the other hand, I will admit, yes, in my quest to trying to expose the taste, I was a massive dick, a humongous cunt, a real ruffle rouser, and I wholeheartedly apologize for that. But on the same token, I want that Christian brand of forgiveness for my past misdeeds. So have you. Humor me. I care about America right now, and the fact that Trump was almost assassinated really shook me up. Like the stress of that. I woke up the next morning with a bloodshot eye. Like it just wrecked me about how close we were to oblivion. And I think I have a sensible head on my shoulders these days, especially since I've had months and months to recover from all the stress of the Tate story. And I want to come back to the internet and really leverage that sense of stability and make some kick ass Twitter threads again. That's all I want. I just want to be able to do what I did best and not have to worry about censorship whatsoever. I just want to speak my mind. How is that controversial?
Exactly. I think that's the problem, is that I think the more we learn about Tate, the more we're going to learn about his friends and how many of them are maybe mutual friends for quite a few people. And I think that's a very uncomfortable conversation they're going to have with themselves, with each other, with their audience. You know, what did they know? What did they not know? What did they pretend not to know? So yeah, I think I'm leaning towards that being part of the problem as well, of your being deplatformed, is because you kind of know where the bodies are buried in that sense. I know there are some people that helped you get deplatformed quietly in the right, just things that happen that we can't talk about. But like, yeah, I think this is the fascinating thing about the Andrew Tate story. It's not actually just about Tate. It's about this whole rabbit hole of sickness.
I'll even say something controversial, but I want to commit to my beliefs. I believe the Tate brothers have the right to free speech, and they're free to muck about on X as much as they want, insofar as they don't attack anyone else. Any personal attacks against the victims are a bridge too far, and I think there should be legal consequences for that. But that's up for the courts to decide, and not X, so on and so forth. But I'm willing to commit to saying that the Tate brothers belong on X, even after everything I've personally been through with this story.
Yeah, so basically they should have. So you think they should have the freedom to comment on political events, comment on
the Olympics? That thing with the blue midget coming out of the birthday cake or whatever, or the Last Supper, and then protesting against that. That's perfectly freaking fine. In fact, that's one of the draws that keeps people interested in the Tates whatsoever, is that they're able to piggyback off of current events or popular things and get people to agree to at least parts of their message, even though
it's a shame that they couldn't start out by doing that. I mean, they were doing that a little bit on YouTube before, but it was mainly like how to be a pimp. So maybe
it just changed the rotting. It doesn't change the rotting underbelly.
Exactly, that's the problem. It's built on this, this wet wood that's just crumbling apart, and there's all these victims with these horrible stories underneath this jokey, clowny kind of exterior, and this big international cult of men that will just do your bidding and believe what you say. And then on top of that, you've got a couple of men who would have been good YouTubers in another life, like that really, didn't have to do all that stuff.
We're in the dark timeline where everything is a grift. I mean, I will fully and absolutely admit that one of the flaws of Crab Crawler was that I did shill my PayPal link way too freaking much. And everyone saw that. I know that everyone saw that because I advertised it openly. I made so much money off the internet that I didn't have to get a real job. And when that was taken away, I ended up the most competent guy running a liquor store.
Yeah.
And I went outside and I touched grass, and I really have a solid backing now, just in my own personal life, that yeah, everything is stable enough for me to come back online as far as that's concerned. I wonder what the holdup is. I wonder what the people at Twitter and X say when they look at my file and they say, Nick Monroe, ew, or whatever.
Well, I think I don't know. I'm hoping that I think what needs to happen is that as the months go on, I think we need to be speaking to each other a lot more because they do spaces, but that's the problem. It's so frustrating. You don't have a Twitter account or an X account, you can't come into a space. So it's like great, but then maybe they should be doing more stuff like this. Like maybe there should be some crossovers, just like whatever, post it online. But then I really think you should be reinstated. I mean, at this point, and then it just seems it just doesn't make sense to me that you're not reinstated, but Andrew Tate is. That's the thing that I think needs looking at and needs questioning the most. I think
there's nothing spectacular here. I'm just the same schmuck in my room that I've always been, and yet somehow they think I'm worse than the actual radicals out there on one end, and then on the other end, how can we have a conversation if people like Mario Nafal are the ones dominating the Twitter X space conversations? Like, I tried to play that circuit, and it's very biased and one-sided. Like, it's up to the whims of the co-host, and one of Mario's co-host is Sully Ahmed or whatever his name is. I don't even remember his name anymore.
yeah,
But he can't tell the difference. He can't tell the difference between a cat and a dog. That was the breaking point for me, where I just stopped taking him seriously whatsoever. He called a cat a dog, or a dog or called a dog a cat or whatever, and he's been one of the most community noted accounts on the platform. And yet,
he's also the principal of a school.
I don't know if is he still the principal of a school? How would
I don't know. It's in London. Like he was under investigation for like charity fraud or something. But yeah, he still looks like he's listed. But I'm just like that is such a what's it called? Like a mix conflict of interest. Don't you think that you've got the principal of a school that's also Andrew Tate's biggest simp that goes around trying to dox his victims and putting out news like the fake news?
It does raise the question of what they allow in schools in terms of what's being taught, because from the cursory reading I've done on the subject, there are many schools in both the UK and there are schools in the UK that have said Andrew Tate is not the model to live your life off of. I know in the United States, one of my childhood friends who I reconnected with over a year ago, she's a teacher, and she's had to deal with the Tate brothers basically influencing the youth. There's like, little, male students, who think they know everything in the world, who have said, Andrew Tate's the best. I gotta live by his mantra. Fuck woman.
Yeah. Which, like, as someone that knows, like, or let's say both of our opinions is that these victims are real and that they exist and they've been through hell. Like, doesn't that just?
Yeah, the way from just I'm not going to disclose anyone's identities in saying this, but all the victims and the way that their stories have come about is real. They came forward after just asking themselves the questions of, is it worth it coming forward? Like, they were afraid of everything they've been through and would have to go through going forward to get justice in the first place. But they overcame that fear and did it anyway. And I think it deserves much more respect than it gets. That's for sure.
No, they do. I mean, it's just there's a lot of things that get forgotten, I think, especially when the perpetrator of these alleged crimes is so famous. 9 million followers, is it, on X? Basically, having Elon Musk, the owner of X, as your cheerleader, and all of the friends around just boosting the content, people willing to make entire hit piece videos about your victims despite having nothing to do with the crimes, and all these interconnected things. You've got George Farmer, Candace Owens' husband, that was apparently a big friend of Tate's back in the day. You've got all these weird connections. But anyway, moving on, I will ask you this before we go, because I don't want to stay too long. But do you think, as we get closer to the trial, I mean, do you think the misinformation? Do you think there's a higher risk of the misinformation campaign coming out of the Tate camp? And do you think there needs to be more responsibility from Musk in order to prevent a possible collapse of trial, or contempt of court or something like that? I mean, how do we deal with this?
Well, the fact that the Tate brothers pay people to prop them up is one thing, and so the misinformation is guaranteed to continue going forward. But I really believe in the power of the whole community notes system that's been set up. I really think that there's integrity there with just the public clarifying things on, for the record, and thinking, the important context is that needs to be displayed. That used to be in the hands of Twitter itself under its former management. But I really think if there was a strong enough deviation from the truth, that the community note system would take care of it. Like I really think the Tate brothers, if they had their way, would have made huge misinformation efforts already. Like, they haven't been able to do that. There's still a very solid dispute surrounding their situation. Like, people still say, you guys are sus. You guys should be on trial. And a large, overwhelming majority of the public is going to believe that. They are on receding ground, and they will continue to be on receding ground. So, no, I don't think Elon Musk needs to do anything, because I think the way life works out, the system will work things out too. It'll all come out in the wash.
Let's hope so. I think some people are going to come out a bit more dirty in the wash, but we'll put them in the wash again.
They were all dirty in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Drain the swamp. So what can we do to try and get you back online? Is there anything that we can do, or do we have to work the system around it?
Tweet at ALX or @ALX on X, and tell him that Nick Mon 1112 deserves to be reinstated, and Crabcaller 1 deserves to be reinstated. But here's my plan for all that. If both accounts were reinstated, I would sunset Crabcaller 1 and basically migrate everyone back to the Nick Mon 1112 account, just for the sake of consistency. I mean, I would still keep up Crabcaller as just for historical purposes. I don't like talking about myself like this, but
is it? No, but it's a historic case. You know how they have in legal terms, there's always the odd historic case. This is a historic case. We are going to be re-examining this case in years to come. So it's like, yeah, you want your work out there as part of the research. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that my foundation is legit. My community has been legitimate with having 47,000 followers on Nickmon 1112 before it was banned, and 35,000 on Crabcaller before it got taken down. So I earned all this. I didn't ride off the coattails of anyone else. I built that over the course of years and years of just hard work. And I hope that reason will eventually prevail, even though it hasn't so far. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope so. And then I guess finally, pretty much we're wrapped up. This was mainly just a conversation about this. However, do you have a message or anything maybe that you would like to say to Team Matrix? Like some words of encouragement or anything, because they are going to see this?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, the whole Trump near assassination was actually inspiring, because he was on the ground and there's this look in his face of saying, oh God, they finally tried to get at me. But then he jumps up, and with the Secret Service huddled around him, he tells the crowd, fight, fight, fight. And that really stuck with me. Just fight, fight, fight. I would tell Team Matrix or whatever, fight, fight, fight. Just keep fighting, even though it's a battle of attrition. And I hope that the rest of my followers out there will keep fighting for my reinstatement, because that is the game under what Elon Musk has set up. He's willing to reinstate people if they have enough of a following still actively demanding they come back. and I hope any of my old followers see this and see that I'm alive and thriving despite my circumstances, and are willing to just jump on the microphone, the ex Twitter microphone, and just say that I need to be reinstated, no matter what. I think I deserve it. I think it's long overdue, and man, it does get tiring sometimes, and people's support of me is what keeps me just afloat. Just words of encouragement. No money, no freaking money anymore. Just words of encouragement is more than enough to just keep me, just allow me to keep going.
Yeah, it do be like that. And what's your Telegram then?
Oh, let me see here. It's still t.me/nickmon1112.
Nickmon1112. I'll make sure to put that up just in case. But I mean, at the moment, are you planning on covering the case anymore? Because we know you did a lot of work beforehand.
Well, yeah.
But then I guess it's just a really kind of period at the moment where we're just waiting.
I'm willing to just pass off the torch to the Team Matrix guys because they really keep tabs on everything, especially with the Romanian legal system, with how obscure everything is when it comes to how they deal with all their crap. But yeah, when it comes to the big picture stuff and how American audiences should receive it, yeah, I'll totally be on. I'm still willing to just cover that going forward. I haven't given up on anything. It's that I've been muzzled by the establishment, my man.
Ironically, there are so many people that have been muzzled by the establishment, so many people that claim to be, and then get given a big old premium X account on a silver platter.
Yeah, here's just proof of life. I'm alive and I'm not a fucking criminal. I've been investigated by the FBI, and they shrugged their shoulders and said, "You're a bit of a weirdo, but we like what you're doing, and just keep at it." And I felt bad that Greg guy wasted their time, but he's willing to allow me back, and my entire ban hinged on his just out of the blue accusations of criminal behavior, which I have beaten. I've beaten the rap, my man.
So on that note, we're going to hope to, I don't know, we're just going to hope to see what we can do. If you want to try and get Nick/Crab back online, you tweet at ALX, tell him why we need Nick Monroe back. He's an investigative journalist.
Lobby.
Freaking news. We need.
I miss that. It was my passion. Talking to people was my freaking passion, and I built up enough of a community that people gave me great ideas. I had awesome threads, and it was all possible because of the fans. And I miss them, and I love them so much, and it breaks my heart every day that I'm, still stuck out here in limbo.
That's the thing. We need to get Nick out of limbo. Come on, limbo. What do you call it? Justice Squad. Kind of rescue mission.
Well, yeah, no, they had a hashtag called "Bringing Them Back," and I want to be brought back, so bring me back.
Bring Nick back. Bring back the crab. We're going to try and bring back the crab, and if they don't, big question mark, Elon. Why is that? We've got two people. One of them is apparently a human trafficker. The other one is a researcher. What's going on? What is going on? But that's another story for another time, I guess.
I mean, yeah, when I talk about Nickmon1112 being banned, I can probably chalk it up to left-wing activist groups campaigning Twitter that I've triggered too many of the libs and criticized too many left-wing academics, and that got my account taken down back in the day. But yeah, I'm willing to have this conversation and unpack whatever the heck needs to be unpacked from my baggage.
Yeah. On that note, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, Nick. Big up. Bring back the crab.
God bless America.
Fight.